All right, so is this gonna be episode 1?
This might be episode 1, so...
Yeah, like episode 1 of introductory stuff, or just...
Yeah. You want to do the introduction?
Hey, might as well.
Alright.
Hi, everyone.
So, this is Last Flight to Cybertron, a podcast about Transformers, anything and everything Transformers.
That sadly is gonna go where no TF podcast has probably gone before.
Unfortunately, we kind of saw in this field of Transformers podcasts that most people tend to focus on the products, either because...
Well, don't say it so derisively. It's just, most things are focused on the toy lines, but I want to talk more about...
Because you get free toys if you talk about them.
Oh,
it's
really?
free marketing.
Oh,
yeah.
shit, maybe we should just do that.
No, we want to say the F word, so we can't sell toys. Can't sell toys if we say the F word.
Ah, damn it. That's unfortunate. Well, anyways, we want to talk about more about the culture surrounding Transformers, as well as, like, you know, weird niche shit that we see that's like, you know, what the weird fangirls are up to. And
what the weird fanboys are up to.
What all the weirdos are up to, basically. Just the stuff that people don't always talk about, you know, like...
Yeah.
All the weird up shit you hear about, like, the Bayformer movies and stuff like that, you know?
Or even just giving a critical eye to some of the media that hasn't really gotten a critical eye to it before. I know people have talked about, you know, like the first Transformers movies, but at the same time, they haven't really explored some of the culture surrounding the movie at the time.
Or, like, why certain things show up in Transformers that people don't know that, like, sometimes, like, the fans put that there.
Yeah, yeah.
As there's things that people don't understand, it's like, hey, I want to let you know, I saw where that shit came from, and it's...
Congratulations. We also might talk about the Vosswater incident.
Oh, God, yeah. All right, let's not spoil that one.
We're not going to spoil that one.
Juicy
little tidbit from, I think, the third movie? Yeah, I think it was the third movie. It was the third movie. A juicy little tidbit from the third movie. I'm going to introduce myself. I got into Transformers in the 90s, so a little bit late compared to everyone else. I actually watched G1 from old tape recorded VHSs. My first toy was a combination, I think it was a lamp. Combination lamp and cassette player.
I thought you were going to say, like, you got a piece of furniture.
It was a toy that my brothers had that at the time we couldn't really afford to throw away toys. My mom couldn't afford to buy toys for me, and she actually thought I was going to be a boy, so she didn't really prepare for...
Uh-oh, spaghetti-o.
Yeah. She didn't really prepare for girl toys.
Uh-oh, spaghetti ovary.
So, for a lot of the time in my life, my only two toys was a small, like, rinky-dink piano and, the Soundwave combination cassette player and lamp.
I was literally going to say, like, orchestral Soundwave.
So this was a Soundwave, I think it was a cassette player and lamp. It had at one point in time, it did contain 4 double D batteries. But the back popped off and all 4 of those double D batteries got lost. The front was already pretty much torn apart when I got it. So it was pretty much a broken toy by the time I got it, but I treated it like a doll, and I carried it around with me everywhere. Its head popped off when I dropped it from a tree. And
Did you cry?
No, actually I didn't. I think I just shoved it right back on and kept going.
Don't worry, guys. This happens all the time. Let me just get that thing back on there.
Parents actually had to seek help from a, like, rich friend that they had. Because the only thing that I would exchange it for was an American Girl doll. And so I got an American Girl doll for Christmas, and they finally threw away little Soundwave.
That's a strange story already. Okay.
So that's how I got into Transformers.
Didn't you also have, like, a headless Ironhide?
I did have a headless Ironhide.
I've never been that rough I've never been that rough to them.
I was a kid.
Of course, I'm not a baby, but...
I was a kid, and these didn't exactly come to me in mint condition.
Oh, well, obviously not, yeah.
After the 90s, you know, my family actually got money, and so they started buying me more, like, girl-themed toys, but I've always had a love for Transformers, so much so that the small town that I lived in actually knew me as the Transformers girl. And in 2005, when the first rumors of the Transformers movies came out, I would have, like, strangers on the street going, hey, do you know that Transformers movie is coming out? In so much so that the fact of, like, basically, like, before school let out in 2007, it was, like, every week someone was like, are you going to watch the Transformers movie this summer? And so I ended up watching it on July 4th in the middle of a road trip. And it's been chaos and madness ever since.
Is that an AMC? Pull over! Just, guys. Okay, I'm me, and I got into Transformers way later. There's a bit of an age gap between us. I got into Transformers because my dad rented the first movie right before the second one came out in 2009. So this was like January, February 2009. My dad rented the first one from Blockbuster. And he was like, oh, you want to watch this movie? It's got, some robots and stuff in it, like, it's cool looking. I haven't seen it. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I was young, not crazy young. I also had older siblings that weren't into it. So, like, I definitely grew up pretty isolated in that regard. Like, I had male friends, but nobody was talking about Transformers. We're at this weird in-between phase, actually known as basically, like, the Transformers drought, where there was not really accessible content for a long time. And so I watched it, and I fucking couldn't look away. It was so weird. I don't know. I've never been that into a movie before. And, like, obviously, I was going crazy to see the second movie. And then after that, I was like, fuck, there's nothing else to do now. Like, I was very internet illiterate. Not saying I didn't have access to the internet, but I had literally no idea how to use it. I didn't know how tags worked. I didn't know how any of that shit worked. And obviously, I'm doing better now. So, but I actually found Animated next. It showed up on my cable TV. It was literally the beginning of season 3. It was Transwarped, which obviously, like, flipped the whole show on its head. It was going nuts, and I was like, what the fuck's going on? I was like, whatever this is, I can't, like, I heard the names, I heard Optimus Prime, and I heard Ratchet, and I was like, this is this. Oh my god, there's another thing out there that's that. I was literally that fucking dumb, dude. I can't even get over it. And so, and my family was coming in and out of the room, and I was kind of, like, embarrassed to be watching it for some reason. I don't really know why I had that. That went on for years, too. I didn't let anyone know I liked Transformers. I barely let my friends know when I was in high school. It was a mess.
Yeah.
But eventually, I just consumed it completely wholly. But I didn't actually go and find everything. Like, I didn't even watch the Armada series until, like, last year. Like, I'm still getting around to shit. And, I went online naturally and joined some forums and stuff and got, some friends on there and got to know, more about the artistic side of the fandom, I guess you could call it. And I was part of some stuff on Tumblr, but I was never, like, a mainstream person.
Yeah.
I did a couple things on DeviantArt for a while, and you and I got more acquainted through that. But, basically, anyways, I come from more of the, I would say modern day wave of Transformers fans, and I think you come from, like, the more older school ones without having literally been alive in the 80s.
Yeah.
So, you know way more about the comics, the toys, a lot of that shit. The history, and you know a lot more about
down.
Yeah, like the G1 shit and all that. And meanwhile, I'm, like, catching up on the modern day comics and, a lot of the IDW shit, figuring out what the hell, I liked Prime a lot. That was my favorite one for a really long time until it took a kind of a nosedive. It's still hard for me to talk about. But, then obviously I got into, like, Rescue Bots and all the modern day TV shows. So that's kind of just where I'm at right now.
And mainly this podcast is kind of to explore, common things in Transformers and kind of dig into some more of the dark stuff. We do have a Patreon. Our Patreon levels are pretty low. We didn't exactly want to, like, scam people into buying, like...
Yeah, there's no way in hell I was going to charge, like, $15 to hear an annoying conversation I had. That's just not...
The first level is... YouTube requires us to censor some of the things that we say.
That's fine.
Of course it's fine.
Like, we're in a meeting with him right now. That's fine. What's next? Next item on the list.
So, if you go to our Patreon, you can find our uncensored recordings. In addition to the uncensored recordings, if we decide to do early releases, you will also get early releases. There's a $5 tier, which means that you can ask us questions and we will answer usually in real time. I think we're going to start doing a live chat on the 15th of every month, and that's the only time you're going to find us interacting with questions and answers. That is to say, you can still comment and you can still find us on other social medias and other places.
We're just two people. Obviously, Corona's going on. We don't always have the, I'm working. She's got personal projects right now, so we'll try and be on top of it as much as possible, but we're still just trying to figure this out. As it is, we've actually recorded several episodes before this that we decided, we didn't have a level 1 episode to be this is kind of the shit that might be in the vein of what we talk about.
Yeah.
And shit'll get more gradually, not extreme, but we'll go places.
Yeah.
We'll be going places.
We'll be going.
It's also unscripted, relatively unresearched. This is just shit that we just know off the top of our stupid fucking head.
So if anything's wrong, please feel free to reach out to us, or if anything has been corrected over time. If I'm working on information that 15-year-old, we don't care. We are happy to hear from you. And even if you're hey, I want you guys to talk about this, and you provide us with all of the research, we're going to react to that.
Just send us a receipt and be is this weird or what? I'd be more than happy to look at that freaky shit. I have no problem with that.
We are happy to hear really what you guys have gone through, and then at the same time, some of the things that you want to see people talk about. We're open to pretty much anything, unlike some other podcasts that maybe don't have as, niche of an audience as we're going after. I do want to say this is not safe for work. Not all the time. Just, we'll put warnings and shit whenever stuff gets a little out of hand. But this is not a show for kids to watch. This isn't something for, little kids. If you're in your teens.
I understand that it's pretty easy for teens to get their hands on weird shit online. I'm not going to sit here and be your parent, but, be reasonable, please. I know that's a dumb thing to say. That's not really even a disclaimer. This is just content that, for once, is going to recognize the fact that a majority of the modern day Transformers fans are not actually children.
Yes.
They are very much, they've turned into a more young adult focused, with the Netflix releases and stuff that. They're trying to go for more of an edge, which is okay. I will judge you for whatever you do wrong, but that's fine.
And we're just happy to hear from you and happy to hear your critique, any positive things you have to say and things like that, and even still any of your submissions. Of course, feel I don't know where I was going. So that being said, I think we should step into our
first topic,
which is going to be pretty tame, which is, we are in 2020 right now when we recorded this, and there are a lot of people, specifically from my neck of the woods, that are unfortunately victims of the virus that is currently going on right now. And it's very sad to lose these people, but it kind of brought to top of mind for me that Peter Cullen is not a spring chicken.
The way you said it was almost insulting.
Sorry.
We recognize his age. With or without Corona, we recognize his age.
He doesn't have one step in the grave or anything like that.
My God, so grim.
But
he's been around a long time, and he started G1 when he was in his 40s, or maybe barely in his 40s. I'm so glad he's been around this long. I'm so glad nothing's happened to that man.
I'm going to be honest. My mental stability relies on that man being alive.
Don't tell him. Don't say that. He'll write in and be like, please don't say that. That's so dark. God. Well, anyway, he just brings a lot of joy to people. And I know anytime that Peter Cullen's been affiliated with anything Transformers, people perk up. They're like, oh, yay, back to the classics, back to, the foundations of Transformers. And that that extends to Frank Welker as well.
Yeah. So a few years back, I do know that Disney actually retired him as a voice actor for Eeyore and brought in another one. And that person, though, had talent. So he doesn't
it seemed like a very formal way of switching him out with the utmost respect of being like, thank you for what you've done. We're going to start again with someone new.
And the thing is that Transformers has not been able to do that. They have, of course, attempted to do that by creating more voice actors or trying to get people to sound like him, but it's almost like a cheap knockoff. The fact of the matter is that Optimus Prime's character with any kind of gravitas needs Peter Cullen. So what happens when Peter Cullen isn't with us anymore and is no longer available to voice Optimus Prime?
Well, I will go ahead and start off by bringing up the fact that he and Mr. Welker, they were at a convention or a panel thing and basically discussed, to me, surprisingly openly about the Netflix strife, where Netflix basically wanted to go non-union. And when they did that, they decided to settle on all these actors that aren't them. Yeah. And I'm not saying you can't do that, but the fact of the matter is the reason why a company as large and profitable as Netflix wouldn't want to pay them what they are worth. I'm sure that their pricing is relatively steep, but they've been doing it for decades.
Yeah.
That's what you pay for. They're fantastic at it. And they're so damn good at it that, like, I swear to God, like, people on production are like, yeah, we basically molded these characters around them. They bring their shit to the table and it's fucking fantastic. Yeah. And the fact that they're, like, BFFs in real life is not lost on people. They absolutely love it. It's so nice. Yeah. And people are so fond of that because they play professional enemies. Yeah. So it's just a cornerstone of a lot of people's childhood. So they talked at length, not really at length. I don't know why I said that. We're talking at length. They talked briefly about the fact that basically Frank said that it was kind of like disrespectful the way that Netflix went about it.
Oh, God.
And Peter Cullen had the same issue with Paramount, I believe, over the, God damn it. Was it the
Age of Ultron or the Age of Extinction?
What?
Age of Ultron.
Age of Ultron? What the f***?
Somebody murder me.
It's totally lost on me right now, but basically, for Bumblebee.
Oh,
it was for Bumblebee. They had a guy come in and basically imitate him, and then when Peter got there to do his lines, the animators had already animated to the other guy, and Peter Cullen's sitting there like, this is not where my intonation would be. Like, this is not where I would be emphasizing this word. You guys, like, really just presumptuous as all hell, and so he was like, it wasn't a great experience, but, you know, any chance to play Prime is basically, it kind of sounds like, you know, anytime he gets to play, like, Optimus Prime is a good time.
My biggest thing is that I know some people might interpret this as no one can play Prime. That's not true. David Kay, when the character was reinvented
for animated,
did a much really
younger
good job.
Incarnation of Optimus Prime.
If Peter Cullen had voiced that role, it would have sounded very
out of place.
It would have sounded out of place.
Because obviously everybody knows him for his super mature baritone voice. Mm-hmm. That's the whole nature of Optimus Prime, as well as, like, he's gentle, but he can rip your face off. So, you know, it's about controlled strength and power. That's what he's about. He's a very reserved, logical, yet emotionally driven character. He's like, you're having a bad day?
Yeah.
It'll get better, pal. Like...
Anyways, so I know in Energon and Cybertron, they used a different guy. I think it's Neil Chaplin or Kaplan. I don't know what his name. But anyways,
I almost said Neil Gaiman.
I think he was also kind of old. But the thing was, is he wasn't exactly...
You sure you're not thinking of Gary Chalk?
I could be thinking of Jerry. Jerry Chalk. I can't speak.
You said Armada?
No, I said Cybertron and Energon.
Gary Chalk did Beast Wars, blah, blah, blah.
John Bailey.
Man, what the let me see if I can find it a different way. Usually we don't really do, like, live searches like this unless it's really bugging us. So honestly, I'm doing it. But you can go ahead and keep talking. I'll dig up the dirt. Don't worry.
The thing is when you reinvent the character, it's fine if you bring in a new artist. But recently, we watched Transformers.
Unfortunately, we watched Siege, and I'm going to tell you right now, like, I'm not into that. It's not very good in my opinion, and we'll of course touch on that later. Netflix who could afford to pay Peter Cullen to play literally just a very similar version to normal War for Cybertron Peter Cullen, and they just went, nah. Like, that's just how it feels. Like, they went, nah. And they just picked a bunch of really, I'm going to be frank,
amateurs.
Very mediocre
and
actors.
Here's the thing, is that it was really obvious to tell that the person playing Optimus Prime in Siege wasn't trying to create his own voice. He was trying to mimic Peter Cullen. And he failed. He went in and out of the character voice. As a voice actor himself, he just went, it was not a good performance.
It was
Gary Chalk? Okay.
Gary Chalk.
I have no idea what I'm talking about then. Anyways.
That's what I'm for.
It was bad. And the thing is that the reason why it was so jarring is because they still wanted to characterize Optimus Prime as the Optimus Prime Peter Cullen plays.
It's just classic OP.
Yeah. And I don't think that character can exist outside of Peter Cullen.
I mean, for me, it's like, I don't know. I'm one of those fans that's like really open to stuff. Like, it's 2020. We got that weird ass Batman movie coming. Bring it on, bitch. Like, whatever it is, man. You could do the Nick Cage superhero movie now by Tim Burton, and I'd go watch it. Like, just fuck it. Like, I'm very into whatever. So, as long as it feels right when you hear it and see it, I'm not really bugged by it, except when there's like really nasty behind the scenes production problems that are disrespectful to the actors.
Have you heard an Optimus Prime that feels or sounds right when it's characterized like that?
What do you mean characterized? Like, you mean basically when they're going for the strong, gentle military leader?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say Gary Chalk's version still sounds slightly immature to me. Not in a bad way. No.
Yeah.
I just mean like, he doesn't, I don't know, he just doesn't sound like he's 100% contained. Like, you still feel like he could fly off the rail.
Yeah.
He definitely feels like the lay it on me, man version of Optimus Prime. It just really, it's fun and I enjoy it. But you're right. I mean, I don't really feel the same deep significance as I do with like when Peter Cullen did Transformers Prime Optimus Prime and when he did, the thing is though, he does voice the Michael Bay Optimus Prime, and that character's literally OP as an Optimus Prime and out of pocket. That character's crazy, and it's fun because you're watching you're hearing this voice go with these insane actions on screen, and you're just like, what the hell? Like,
what are you doing?
It's interesting. You can't look away. Yeah. Forgive me. It's like a car accident, and you're just like, what the hell? I mean. That is honestly like the paradox that's like the complete opposite of what we're discussing too.
Yeah.
Is here he is doing his same mature voice, but for a role that
is more mature.
His character, no, you're misunderstanding.
Okay, sorry.
He's doing a character that is being written any which way. Like Michael Bay did it himself in Revenge of the Fallen. Wrote that shit himself for the most part. And, nobody was like, hey, Optimus Prime doesn't talk like this. Yeah. Hey, Optimus Prime doesn't kill people on sight like this. Hey, Optimus Prime doesn't turn evil like this.
Yeah.
So you get him doing the same classic Optimus Prime, but it's being paired with a character that does not reflect that classic Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
So it's still this big ass, tough looking mofo, but the problem is like, I mean, what's weird though is I really do think Peter Cullen can like overcome that because he
what?
Because he can make those weird lines sound more serious.
Yeah.
And
Peter Cullen
does
can
a damn
bad
good
writing.
He does a damn good job of working with what he's got.
Yeah.
So you know what? I will go ahead and say that like Peter Cullen versus the character, like Peter Cullen is like 55% of that. Like he's just over that thing where he can like overcome that. He can reclaim that bad part and be like, I'm going to make this better. It sounds a little weird. I'm going to do it better. And people let him because he's a genius. So I will go ahead and say that basically I'm just saying that I don't know. I guess Peter Cullen is more of that character than that character is of Peter Cullen. So where he goes, the true Optimus Prime fucking goes, basically. You know, like when they cast him for anything like that, it's always going to be basically the best version that you can get. And I wouldn't even say that it's totally steeped in nostalgia, but he's just so damn good at it. Like, he made that character that good. He even took influence from his own, like, you know, his brother and stuff like that. So it means something to him, and you can tell. And so therefore it means something to the fans, and you can tell. But yes, if he were to go away, I mean, I think the people would literally be mourning for a long time, you know? And I think to have somebody as insensitive as Netflix start making a series like this and already kind of disrespecting him, I really do feel like that minute he's not there anymore, Netflix and people like that are just going to make whatever the fuck they want. Because they don't feel that responsibility to be like, hey, you know, this guy's been doing this a long time and everybody loves it. He's a big draw. Maybe you should just wait till he's available or something. No, like, they're just like, if I can make money off Optimus Prime, I'm going to make money off Optimus Prime.
Maybe they can't. We don't know what it's going to be like later. Will they be able to make money when Optimus Prime is gone? Especially since Peter Cullen makes up 60% of that character.
I absolutely still think they're going to be able to make money.
No offense. If I was somebody that had a lot of money right now, I would literally pay, like, Peter Cullen like $1 million to make like a Vocaloid level.
Like Hatsune Miku.
Yeah, like, hey, I need you to read an entire dictionary. Just
I want him to read my GPS.
In your Optimus Prime voice. So that way, once he's gone, we can still have this character.
He is literally one of the most memorable voices of all time.
Yeah.
I really feel like people forget that.
Nobody forgets that.
I do feel like people forget it. Because
I feel like people in the industry forget it.
Well, I mean, if you're around, you know, I'm around talent all the time, so I can always find it. You can't replace certain characters. Yeah. You're just going to have to move on and reinvent them a little bit. And I don't know how I'm going to feel about that until it happens. Mm-hmm. I can't even really give you an idea. But
my thing is that how are you going to reinvent Optimus Prime?
The same way other people do, where you have a character that elicits that type of leadership without mimicking Peter Cullen to a T. So Gary Chalk's version for the Cybertron series is, I don't have any problem hearing that. I don't have problems listening to it. It doesn't feel like when I'm listening to him that, oh, that's not Optimus talking. Like, I've never felt like that. Just like I've never felt like David Kaye made a bad junior Optimus Prime. Everybody that's good enough as an actor by themselves, who's a standalone good actor, can make do with a good role. So my thing is it really felt like for Siege and even for, you know, other things, that they heard this person's voice and were like, yeah, that's good enough. And it isn't good enough. When I watched Siege, I wasn't like, oh, that's Optimus. In fact, there were times when I was like, who's talking? And you would be like, Optimus. And I'd be like, you're like, really?
Really?
Yeah, he doesn't take center stage anymore. No. He doesn't have a very commanding vocal presence. No. And that's something Peter Cullen has always had. And Cyberverse also has this problem, I find. Like, I get irritated with the vocal choices that they make very often. Yeah. And that show's, like, really flawed to me. Yeah. But, again, it's one of those things where they go, well, it's for kids, who cares? And I'm like, kids, what the f***? That argument drives me up the wall, because there are infinitely other shows and other content you can reference and say, this was also for kids, but people in their 20s still talk about it, dude. Yeah. Like, everybody still fondly reflects on it, because a bad story ages bad. Yeah. It might sell on day one, but no one is going to buy your DVD or whatever the f***. But a good story it stands the test of time, because it's a good story. Yeah. Humankind loves stories. We love the shit out of them.
People
especially
will
when
come back to them too. And that's something that
what's your level of rewatchability, your rereadability, whatever you want to, you know.
And the thing is, Peter has a lot of rewatchability and a lot of character to his voice that recent voice actors just don't seem to get. And maybe it is, maybe you're right. It is a union versus non-union thing. Maybe there's something in the industry that on a production level is super flawed. But
I feel like the people that generally have voiced some of the super recent content, they've just kind of felt a little bit more like fanboys that are like, OMG, I get to play Optimus, and like, you know, I hope I'm honoring Mr. Cullen or whatever. And it's just like,
he's not dead yet.
I know, but but it's also like, do what you can with the role. Don't be hyper focused on who came before you. be respectable at your job, be professional, and do your damn best, you know?
And my whole problem is if it is a production side of things, you need to get this voice in to your stuff because of how much better it makes your production. It's a sound investment. It's the difference between, you know, graphic design is my passion and someone drawing like Monet on your wall.
Yeah.
You know, you have something that, if you invest in it, already brings up
the value of the
entirety thing. You know, I'm not ever going to watch Siege again. You can't make me.
I don't even want to watch Siege again. And like, I know that it just sounds like we're coming from a standpoint of like, it sucks, everything sucks. But no, I like Rescue Bots and Rescue Bots Academy. I read the comics and stuff. You know, I'm in it. You know, and I rewatch a lot of those shows. I even rewatch RID 2015. Like, It's not totally, you know, story-wise, it's not perfect, but it's fun. Yeah. It doesn't take itself crazily seriously like Siege does. And I know that, oh, well, that's the genre Siege is trying to do. They want to take it more seriously.
Are they the same age range too?
No, RID is not TV 14.
Okay.
But fear. Rated for fear.
Fear.
Fear of this shit getting renewed. That's what I'm scared of. And you know that shit's already been planned out in advance. Yeah. Machinima and Rooster Teeth and whoever the fuck else has their hands on it, you know. And that's just the people that are manifesting it, not really the people that plan it and write it or whatever. Yeah. You know, it's all over the place. I understand that, you know. But I'm still allowed to sit here and go, you know, this is kind of disappointing for Transformers. And I know a lot of people I noticed in their reviews are just like, well, it's a great neutral way to bring about the story for it breathes new life into Transformers. And I'm like, this shit was actually, I fucking got myself saying it's soul sucking. Yeah. I did not find it enjoyable. The acting was stale. Everything's so just, I really, and just
that acting, and you, again, if they had Peter there.
If they'd even had one person that was directing the voice team better than that, just like, look at the shit Susan Blue does. Yeah. Not only does she do RC sometimes, but she was literally, you know, I guess like the cast coach for, there's a better word for that. It's totally
casting
going.
Director?
I think she did that as well. I don't know, but the word is escaping me right now. But basically, she's in there coaching them, like, no, say that again, but louder. No, right. Do this, but put more emphasis on the word "the" instead of, you know, stuff like that. And you can tell that, like, literally, I think what I said about Siege was like, you can tell that a lot of these deliveries of the characters' lines just went totally unedited and unchecked.
Yeah,
it was like they just took people from around the office and just
shoved them in a.
I have a very severe issue with. A lot of this is going to sound so bad, but the people that tend to do the voices for the female characters sound identical. Yeah. And it bothers me because there's a wide range of female voices out there. Look at the difference between you and me.
Yeah.
Look at the way that I sound compared to you. And yet people think on the phone we sound the same. It's what the
I've never heard anyone.
I don't even in my head think I sound anything like anybody I've ever talked to. So I have one of those. It makes me think of my voice as like who's Clarice? What's her fucking name? The actress.
Jodie Foster.
Yes, I've had so many people be like, "You remind me of Jodie Foster," and I'm like, "What?" And I think it's because people think I sound a little bit more mannish, but it's just like, well, there you go. Like, none of these rough and tumble fembots neck deep in war. None of them have ever really sounded like that.
Yeah.
Nobody gets to sound gruff.
And are they afraid? Are they afraid to make somebody that synonymous with a character? Are they afraid of having a really good voice actor?
Could you imagine having
fear of losing that character?
What do you mean?
Like the same way that Optimus Prime.
Oh, they don't want to get attached.
Cullen.
They don't want to get attached to somebody. Well, yeah, like I mean, could you imagine having an iconic, like, technically, I guess if there's one iconic female voice, it's Susan Blue's RC.
Yeah.
So, and I'm all over that. It's great, and I do recognize it when I hear it. And it's like, man, if you guys had more of that, I'd be all over it. And the only one that really sticks out to me off the top of my head right now is Strong Arm.
Yeah.
I think her name's Constance Zimmer. And I really like her delivery.
Yeah.
She sounds like, you know, a 20-something recruit. Like, that's her whole shtick, and she nails it to me. I think it's quite good.
Will anyone be able to play Strong Arm again?
The problem is nobody seems to get... I mean, I know a lot of people that were like, holy shit, Strong Arm! I love this character!
Yeah.
And I do feel like we might not ever see her again.
Yeah.
Which is sad. She's a cool character. I liked her. I actually didn't like her in the beginning, and she grew on me.
Yeah.
You know, I hate Sideswipe.
But you have a character like Optimus Prime that is so synonymous with the brand.
They're basically inseparable. And when they do separate it, it does stand out to you.
Yeah.
There's occasions where you'll get, like we said, more so in the past, where you'll get people that really, like, will stand next to Peter Cullen on that level, but they will not stand in front of him.
Yeah.
They are just on the same plane. They might just be slightly behind him. Like,
right.
It's hard to beat the original. It really hard, especially when it was so damn successful.
But the original is still here. So if you are trying to get the tone and copy the original like they do in Siege, you need to get the original voice, because getting an imitation is no good.
It says more about the character of the company than it does about anything else. It's like, well, why don't you want to pay Peter Cullen? If it is a money thing, why don't you want to pay him? What you think? You think that, oh, that's too much money for some lines? Bitch, it isn't some lines. That's shit people will listen to and re-listen to forever. It's not just one delivery and that's it. Like, he puts his all in that shit. Yeah. He knows how big of a deal that role is to him.
And to other people.
And other people. And other people know that of him. So why is it like all these modern day execs just try to scrape by with this bare, just half-assed shit sometimes, and it's just like...
I think it really affects what goes on. And although we can't really answer the question of what will happen, because we're not predictors of the future, I'm not sitting here going, yeah, Hasbro will totally axe this character and have to recreate him in order to keep the brand alive. That is what I think the future will be like, but we can't say that for certain. We can't say that they won't try to revive him, but... the problem is that the character, as he is right now, as a homage to the original and as the character that he is in the Transformers movies, in Transformers Prime, in Transformers RID, they can't get someone else to replace him with that. And I really do think it will affect the quality in years to come. So for me, use Peter as much as you can.
Yeah, while you still have him.
Use him as often and as frequently as possible, because you don't know what you got until it's gone. And unless you have that foresight to... I mean, he was in a National Toys R Us commercial.
That shit's so funny. Yeah. Like, you can go back and watch that and laugh your ass off.
Yeah.
That commercial's hilarious.
So it's not like, you know, a normal everyday person is going to hear his voice and connect that to Optimus Prime.
He's profoundly difficult to imitate as well. It's just a voice that comes from a very personal place in his body and his mind and his soul. Which I know it sounds like we're blowing it out of proportion, but it's just like, nobody has really perfectly imitated him ever.
Never.
Not people on YouTube, and not people on SoundCloud, not people on anything.
And imitating him only cheapens the brand. It's like a wax museum version of him, but in a voice. It's just not, it's Uncanny Valley, and it's not what we want to hear. And my thing is I'm not sure Hasbro, first of all, is brave enough or clever enough to reinvent Optimus Prime in a way where fans will not leave because of how much they're trying to just...
They gotta do it respectably, of course. Yeah. I think the worst case scenario would be, once Peter's gone, that they literally try and quote unquote, kill off the OG Optimus Prime as well. And in every incarnation of the next shows and the next media, that they basically find people to hyper imitate him, like to the point where it's just like they're trying so hard to make it sound like it really is him, and they literally revive the character in each thing as well.
Yeah.
Like, that would be embarrassing to me. That'd basically be like how they kind of like brought him back in RID in the first season, and how, he was in like this weird like metaphysical space and and spooky heaven, or whatever the f*** you want to call it.
Heaven.
Militaristic, tyrannical heaven, where there's a small asshole with trying to do yoga telling you what to do. So You know, if they did that literally every single time they wanted him back in a Transformers property, and they were like, we're gonna have this new show, but there's no Peter Cullen, so we're gonna have Optimus be dead in this universe and have him get resurrected and have some guy mimicking him.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's just, I don't like that.
Make him new, like in Transformers Animated. Make him new, like in, you know, everything else. And if you can't do that, just end him. Like, Hot Rod is, you know, there's other characters. Maybe we have to have Bumblebee be the boss of everything.
No, I don't want that. Bumblebee gets a lot of exposure. Let's pick somebody else.
There is nobody.
Hot Rod. I don't like him
because fundamentally the main issue is that Hasbro is still trying to connect with a major audience. And it's Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, Megatron, whoever the Decepticon of the week is. So, yeah, it's really frightening to think about it because you do wonder if, like, will it be the end of Transformers as a whole? Or will someone be smart enough to revive it in a way that's transformative and interesting?
And we're not even saying it has to be better. No. It doesn't. Nothing has to be better than the original.
It can be worse.
I like it better when shows. You can tell when shows stand on their own 2 feet.
Yeah.
And Animated is the best example of a show that did that, where they were like, "I love Transformers. I'm going to do this weird new thing with it, and I'm going to be really passionate about it. I'm going to work out all the kinks before we get it through, and we're going to work our asses off." And like, you can tell, and that show is fucking, I never get tired of rewatching that show. Literally ever. And whether or not you like the main character being a little 8-year-old girl or whatever. Oh, I don't like Megatron seeming weirdly highly educated and elegant. Like, whatever your issue is, everybody's just like, you know, we vibe with this shit. Like, we remember it as we were little, or we're watching it now, or whatever your reason is. Like, it was something new without trying to copy everything.
Yeah.
And it wasn't being it wasn't referencing everything before it all the time.
Yeah. And
I can't stand when stuff does that, because it's like, damn, are you your own or are you not?
Yeah.
You know, do you have enough confidence in your own work as a showrunner or whoever to just can the jokes for 2 seconds, stop trying to, like, go back and, you know, try and play the touch when the credits roll or some shit. I don't know. Just, like, be your own. Be you. It makes a much better impression because the fans are smart enough to sniff out a rat and be like, this seems like it's trying to do this.
Yeah.
This seems like it's just copying this.
Yeah. And I can't wait to see it, because I think even Rescue Bots was something new and stood on its own. And so
he literally reprised the role for that too. And he's not even in it that much.
Yeah.
He's in it literally like every now and then.
But it was unique and it was original. And that's what I liked.
Yep.
Okay, so that's the end of our very first podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you have anything that you would like to see or hear from us, please let us know in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe. We also have a Patreon where you can get early releases of certain episodes and access to our unedited episodes where you can hear more of what we say that's a little bit less YouTube friendly. Thanks again.